Good afternoon, Tzohoraim Tovim. Thank you to our hosts, Ariel University, its president, its board of directors, the chairman of the board, and of course, the mayor of Ariel. This is not the first time that you have hosted us, and I am positive it will not be the last. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my dear friend Yigal Cohen Orgad, Zichrona Livracha, of blessed memory, founder and chancellor of Ariel University, who in every single conversation that we had challenged us to strengthen the U.S.-Israel science collaboration with all Israeli universities, including Ariel University. I promised him that this was a priority of President Trump and my boss, Ambassador Friedman, and today that promise is kept. It is my honor and privilege to welcome our friends and colleagues from BIRD, BARD, and BSF, as well as the MFA, the Science Ministry, and the Prime Minister's Office. Our embassy works tirelessly with all of you, and we thank you for your time and your dedication. Of course, we would not be here without the leaders who have made strengthening this relationship possible. The past Minister of Science and Technology, Ophir Akunis, the current Minister of Science and Technology, Yizhar Shai, the U.S. Ambassador to the State of Israel, His Excellency David Friedman, and the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu. Today, we are gathered for a special ceremony here, an impressive institution for higher education, for the signing of two important documents that will further strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship that is already stronger than it has ever been before. The first document, the United States and Israel will expand the reach and provide greater opportunities for the U.S.-Israel binational foundations, the Binational Science Foundation, known as BSF, the Binational Industrial Research and Development Foundation, BIRD, and the Binational Agricultural Research and Development Foundation, BARD. The U.S. and Israel will sign a protocol that will amend these agreements, and this action will update these agreements, and in so doing will create additional meaningful opportunities for collaboration in science, agriculture, and technology. Just to have a bit of an idea, over the past 30 years, over $1.4 billion has been invested and returned in 7,300 joint research and commercial projects that have drastically altered the economic and science complex of both the United States and the State of Israel. These organizations supported no less than 47 Nobel laureates, assisting the U.S. and Israel in innovation in medicine, cybersecurity, high technology, health, environment, life, earth, and behavioral science, amongst so many others. With this in mind, it is my high honor to invite His Excellency, Ambassador David Friedman, to the podium.
Thank you, Aryeh. Mr. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Minister of Science and Technology Yizhar Shai, Mayor of Ariel Eli Shavira, Minister of Regional Cooperation Ophir Akunis, Ariel University President Yehuda Danon, so many other distinguished guests in attendance, and of course all those who are participating virtually. In the early 1970s, nearly 50 years ago, the United States of America and the State of Israel began to formalize academic research and technological cooperation in the fields of science, industry, and agriculture. They did so by establishing binational foundations with large endowments and world-class trustees. The first was known as the Binational Science Foundation, known as BSF. It was formed in 1972. The second was called the Binational Industrial Research and Development Foundation, known as BIRD, founded in 1976. And the third, the Binational Agricultural Research and Development Fund, known as BARD, formed in 1977. Together, BSF, BIRD, and BARD have and continue to be tremendous successes. As Aryeh said, $1.4 billion invested, grants given to U.S. and Israeli companies and academic institutions in numerous fields of science and technology. These grants have provided both countries with an enormous return on investment. A couple of years ago, after hearing so many wonderful things about these three foundations and trying to envision how we could do more, I asked to see copies of the three respective agreements. What I read surprised me and candidly disappointed me. Each agreement, while providing for unprecedented advancement and cooperation, contained the following language, and now I will quote: cooperative projects sponsored by the Foundation may not be conducted in geographic areas which came under the administration of the government of Israel after June 5, 1967, and may not relate to subjects primarily pertinent to such areas, close quote. Now, to be clear, these agreements were made with wonderful intentions, and they have yielded outstanding results. But nonetheless, I was disappointed that 3 agreements devoted to academic and scientific growth were subject to political limitations that did not serve the goals sought to be achieved. These geographic restrictions no longer comport with our foreign policy. Under the Trump administration, and in particular what's become known as the Pompeo Doctrine, we no longer view communities in Judea and Samaria as per se inconsistent with international law. And perhaps even more important, in the spirit of the Abraham Accords, we place great value on academic, cultural, commercial, and diplomatic engagement as the best path to peace, whether between Israel and its neighboring states or between Israel and the Palestinians. Plainly, this geographic restriction within the 3 agreements was an anachronism. It had no place within our evolving region, a region which under the Trump administration is continuously advancing the cause of peace in new and exciting ways. So I began a process in motion over a year ago to change this, to delete the single offending sentence from each of the Byrd, BARD, and BSF agreements. Sounds simple. Not exactly. I was working then with the then Minister of Science and Technology, Ofer Kunis. We thought we'd get this done in a few weeks. But amending these types of international agreements, at least in the United States, involves an interagency process with numerous branches of government. So it took a bit of time. But I am pleased to say that while there were many, many approvals that we needed to obtain to change these agreements, there was absolutely no policy pushback from any source. So we've gotten all the approvals that we need, and here we are today at a first-rate academic institution that stands to benefit directly from this amendment. And we will sign a revision that will eliminate the geographic restriction that prohibits the funding of American and Israeli joint research and development and cooperation over the Green Line. We are righting an old wrong and strengthening yet again the unbreakable bond between our 2 countries. We also are signing today a brand new science and technology agreement that will elevate government-to-government cooperation and coordination to the highest level in unprecedented ways. And of course, this agreement as well will have no geographic restrictions. So let's just sum up what is happening today. We've entered into a wonderful new science and technology agreement between our 2 governments. We are embarking upon a new way of doing business. To be sure, we will still invest funds based upon the quality of the technology, the aptitude and character of the scientists, and the capacity of the invention to improve lives. We just won't be making decisions based upon the inventor's postal code. We are depoliticizing a process that should never have been political in the first place. I couldn't be happier or more proud to sign on behalf of the United States the amended and corrected BSF, Byrd, and BARD agreements, as well as the new science and technology agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. It's my high honor to call upon His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
תודה רבה. שתי הערות בעברית, אחר כך באנגלית, אחר כך בעברית עוד פעם. ההערה הראשונה בעברית, אתם רואים אותי בא עם מדי שטח, חצי לפחות. זה משום שאני בא מתרגיל של צה"ל בצפון, ואני יכול להגיד לכם שאני מתרשם שבזמן הקורונה אנחנו ממשיכים לפתח את היכולות הצבאיות שלנו, ויש בהם מרכיב טכנולוגי מדעי מרשים ביותר, שמאוד מעצים את היכולות הצבאיות של מדינת ישראל מול חיזבאללה, מול כל אויב אחר. כדאי שהם יקחו את זה בחשבון. הערה השנייה, אנחנו באריאל, באוניברסיטה באריאל, ושלושה אנשים שאני מבקש להזכיר גם כן, את רון נחמן, זיכרונו לברכה, שבחזון ומחויבות מופלאים בנה את העיר הזאת, את יגאל כהן אורגד, שבחזון ובמחויבות באמת בלתי נלאים בנה את האוניברסיטה הזאת, ואת ידידי משה ארנס, פרופסור משה ארנס, שעשה כל שביכולתו להביא לכך שהממשלות בראשותי אכן יממשו את הדבר הזה, והם זכורים לנו כולם לטוב, לא רק בחיבה גדולה, אלא גם בהערכה גדולה. David Friedman, the ambassador of the United States to Israel, you've done it again, and we deeply appreciate all your efforts on behalf of the Israeli-American alliance to right past wrongs, to put things on the right course. The Minister of Science and Technology is Har Shai, and the former Minister of Science and Technology and current Minister of Regional Cooperation, Ophir Akunis, worked a lot for this day as well. Minister Tzachi Anegbi, Minister of Communities, how shall I call it in English? Community Affairs, but you know which communities we're talking about. The Mayor of Ariel, Eli Shviro, the President of Ariel University, Professor Yehuda Danon, מנכ"ל משרד ראש הממשלה, רונן פרץ, ומנכ"לית משרד המדע והטכנולוגיה, שיילי ספיגלמן, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to be back here in Ariel. It's an even greater pleasure to be here with Ambassador Friedman, and it's an extra special pleasure to be in Ariel for the signing of the U.S.-Israel Science and Technology Agreement. The fact that we are signing agreements here today is of huge significance. It's a demonstration, first, of your commitment, Ambassador Friedman, and the commitment of President Trump. President Trump's successful approach to bringing peace to our region has helped Israel achieve 3 new peace agreements with the Emirates, with the Bahrain, and with Sudan. President Trump and his team deserve praise for helping to facilitate these agreements. We've worked on them for many years in silent, covert contacts and some open, but it would not have happened without the full engagement of the President and his team. Yet when the U.S. recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital and moved the embassy here, the naysayer said that the American action would destroy the chances of peace. That's a modest quote. Believe me, they were even more extreme. When President Trump recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, the same naysayer said that this too would destroy the chances of peace. When the President declared that our Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria are not illegal under international law, a theme advanced by an observation and a decision advanced by Secretary Pompeo, once again, the naysayers claimed that this would destroy the chances of peace. And when the President proposed a realistic plan for Israeli-Palestinian peace that took into account Israel's rights and security concerns, the naysayers were firm that this would surely destroy the chances for peace once and for all. But the naysayers were wrong, dead wrong, every single time. By rejecting the failed mantras of the past, the Trump plan for Israeli-Palestinian peace not only offers possibilities for a realistic and secure solution if the Palestinians ever come around to changing, to abandoning their absurd demands that would mean the end of Israel. But I think the Trump vision also put forward something else that we see today. It opens Judea and Samaria to academic, commercial, and scientific engagement with the United States. This is an important victory against all those who seek to delegitimize everything Israeli beyond the 1967 lines. And to those malevolent boycotters, I have a simple message today. You are wrong and you will fail. You are wrong because you deny what cannot be denied, the millennial connection between the people of Israel and the land of Israel. It's over 3,000 years old. And you will fail because we are resolved to continue to build our life in our ancestral homeland and to never be uprooted from here again. And this university's many accomplishments are a testament to the naysayers' abject failure. Ariel University's academic excellence, its pioneering research, its multidisciplinary curriculum, its 450 senior faculty and 1,600 students, by the way, many of them Arabs. This is, together, an amazing success story and a wonderful testament for peaceful coexistence and reconciliation. It is the sort of excellent Israeli scientific research that is produced here at Ariel University that makes U.S. scientific cooperation so fruitful. America is undoubtedly the global scientific superpower and technological. Israel is much smaller. But when it comes to technological innovation, Israel, too, is a global power. From cybersecurity to fintech, from smart agriculture to medical devices, from biotech to renewable energy, in these areas and many others, Israel is in the cutting edge of so much global scientific innovation. Now, over the years, we've been helped by this collaborative U.S.-Israeli scientific research. It's made a real difference. The Bird Foundation, the BSF, the U.S., the Binational Agriculture Research and Development Fund. I thank you, David, and I thank successive American administrations for this commitment, this bipartisan commitment to scientific cooperation with the State of Israel. In health alone, our joint research is playing a crucial role in the fight against cancer, in combating brain disease, and in pharmaceutical development, and who knows, it may very well be collaborative U.S.-Israeli research that will help humanity wipe out coronavirus, not merely find a vaccine, but go well beyond that. I'm confident that this new agreement will help accelerate more scientific research in the years to come. So in signing this agreement, we are here in Ariel. We're not only doing so for the benefits of both the people of Israel and the people of the United States, but for the benefit of the entire world. Thank you. אנחנו מכילים היום את הסכם המדע בין ישראל לארצות הברית על אזור יהודה ושומרון ורמת הגולן. זה שינוי אדיר. זה ניצחון על כל הארגונים והמדינות שמחרימים את יהודה ושומרון. אנחנו לא נפסיק לפעול כדי שהאזור ישגשג ויפרח. הסכם שיתוף הפעולה המדעי הוא חשוב במיוחד בימים אלה, בהם אנחנו מתמודדים עם נגיף הקורונה. אני עובד יום ולילה על רכישת חיסונים לאזרחי ישראל. יש תחרות עולמית מי ישים את ידו על החיסונים קודם לכן, ואנחנו פועלים בשלושה אפיקים. אחד, ייצור עצמי דרך המכון הביולוגי שלנו. שניים, אנחנו פועלים דרך משרד הבריאות מול החברות המובילות בעולם. ושלוש, אני פועל אישית מול מנהיגים מובילים של מדינות בעולם, החל מסגן הנשיא פנס שאחראי על הטיפול בקורונה בארצות הברית, עם ראש ממשלת הודו נרנדרה מודי ועם נשיא רוסיה ולדימיר פוטין, וגם עם מנהיגי אירופה שאיתם אני משוחח כמעט מדי יום. ואני אמשיך לפעול כדי להבטיח שלאזרחינו יהיו מספיק חיסונים ובזמן הנכון. זוהי המשימה הגדולה ביותר שלנו במאבק נגד הקורונה, כי זה מה שיוציא אותנו משגרת הקורונה, וכמובן מהמגבלות הקשות שאנחנו חווינו רק לאחרונה. מחר אנחנו נדון בקבינט הקורונה במתווה הכולל, ואני גם דן עם שר החינוך ועם אנשי השלטון המקומי על שיפור מתווה החינוך. אנחנו בודקים אפשרויות שונות. הקורונה מרימה את ראשה בכל העולם, ולכן אני דורש שתוכנית היציאה שלנו תהיה מדורגת ואחראית. אנחנו עושים שלום תמורת שלום, מחזקים את ישראל, מקבלים את ההחלטות הנכונות שהורידו את רמת התחלואה אצלנו, בזמן שכל מדינות אירופה חוות תחלואה גבוהה מאוד בעיצומו של גל שני קטלני של הקורונה. אנחנו נמשיך לפעול באחריות, אנחנו נמשיך לקבל את ההחלטות הנכונות כדי להציל את חייהם של אזרחי ישראל וכדי לשמור על בריאותם. תודה רבה לכם.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. If I can have the representatives from the U.S. Embassy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs present the protocol that will amend the BIRD, BARD, and BSF agreements to be signed by His Excellency the Prime Minister of Israel and His Excellency the United States Ambassador to Israel. Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Prime Minister, we have one more agreement to be signed. If I can ask the Minister of Science and Technology, Yitzhar Shai, please to approach the stage. Now, the U.S. and Israel will sign the first ever U.S.-Israel Science and Technology Cooperation Agreement, establishing a new government-to-government framework that will elevate and facilitate future joint cooperation in scientific research, technological collaboration, and scientific innovation in areas of mutual priority and benefit while protecting intellectual property. During the challenging times of today, science and technology cooperation between countries such as ours is a necessity, not a luxury. This agreement will bring the science and technology cooperation between the United States and Israel to a new level, setting the stage for game-changing breakthroughs and sustained leadership in the technologies of the future. Minister and Ambassador, kindly sign the new agreement. Mazal tov, mazal tov. Thank you so much for joining us here today for this historic occasion. Can we have one more round of applause, please?